And today for our relationship discussion, we're looking at what to do when one love hurts you. Or when the one you love really hurts you. How do you reconcile your differences and make sure you make the relationship work? But beyond that, what do we tend to do that tend to hurt a lot more those we love? And we have a regular counselor on the show, Amos Kevin, and joining us this morning. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Roland.
Wow.
Where have you been?
I've been around, sir.
Report yourself.
Sharp. And you can get interactive throughout the rest of the show. JoyNews on TV is a page for Facebook. We stream there live. And my Joy Online TV is a channel on YouTube. But good morning to you.
Good morning again.
And when we have to take the subject of discussion on just on the normal surface, when you love somebody, you love somebody. It could either be you're in a relationship leading to marriage, or perhaps you're even in the marriage relationship in itself. How deep should that be? By what measure? By what benchmark should we say that what we feel, we feel that we have for this person is the love that should be for eternity?
Well, thank you for asking. It's important that once we say we love people, we are honest about it. When you are honest about the love you have, there are no inhibitions. Unless, of course, you are uncertain of the adventure you are about to embark upon. Where an individual is uncertain of the outcome or the response from the other party, then what they do is that they reserve some and give just a bit of it. Or maybe they will divide it into two, 50 out, 50 retained. And that 50 retained is used as what they call the just-in-case factor. In the event of a shock, in the event of a disappointment, in the event of the person not reciprocating the love gesture you are extending to them, then you have some fallback plan. You have some cushion on which to rest yourself. So people would not give themselves fully. But in a real sense, if you're in love, especially in the union of marriage, if once it's consummated, it is not, I bring 50, you bring 50, becomes 100. No, we bring 100 and 100, and the 100 synergetically won't be 200 or 250, but will be 100 again.
So they kind of just overlap on each other.
We should be able to integrate the love that we have so that it becomes a whole.
In order that you, well, couples or perhaps people in relationships tend to give each other what is due one another, what should they be doing? Should they perhaps have a list of items or perhaps certain milestones they want to achieve and say that I'll make sure consistently, even if I'm angry, I will be in the right mood or frame of mind when I have to perhaps discuss something or relate, etc.
Well, I mean, in the relationship, it's important to always observe and register this deeply in your heart, that there will be highs and there will be lows, okay? Now, in the fit of the highs, you can make terrible mistakes. You can become inconsiderate. You could lose your sense of judgment. You could sacrifice thoroughness for shallowness. In the same vein, when people are in the lows, inside the embers of the low ebb, they also can make terrible decisions and choices. So we always need to guard against one extreme. We should be sober and reflective of whatever it is that we're doing. Now, if I choose to love Roland as the man who is significant in my life, I should do myself a great service by understanding who Roland is, how Roland is wired, what gets him into being naughty, what gets him into being pleasant or nice. When I have these things in my registry, then I design a response through our interactive processes for Roland. So to a large extent, it's going to be customized for Roland, and I don't have a basis to compare Roland with somebody else. Because the moment you draw parallels with Roland and others, then you will notice that the love you're offering Roland won't be that which he will appreciate.
Okay. And I know that in all this, as we tend to do these exhibitions of character in relation to who the partner is, you have to be real.
Exactly.
Okay.
Honesty is the best principle.
So in being
for life.
real, how can you customize or try to relate better when perhaps you're not that personality that perhaps you create in order to relate?
So that means that you're putting up a face?
Well, not necessarily, but maybe you're somebody who gets angered easily. Who gets angered easily.
Okay.
Your partner gets angered easily, but you don't want to be the one who reacts.
Okay.
Because then you have to have a big heart.
So you are deferring your anger?
So at what point do you not snap?
Oh, okay.
And at what point will you snap? At what point will you become your real self, and then that means that you're going off course?
There is always a precaution that we all need to take. When you're excited, don't make life-changing decisions. When you are saddened, don't make life-changing decisions. And when you're in the fits of rage or anger, torrents, don't make life-changing decisions. Because later on hindsight, sober reflection, you will notice that you did some terrible things. So if you have anger as an issue, you need to deal with it. Now, whoever is going to be engaging you as a significant one should also have the presence of mind to note that this fellow has these anger issues. For instance, anytime you talk about how she appears, the size, how she's putting on weight, she gets infuriated. So you need to desist from that and find creative ways of engaging this lady whose aversion towards constant reference to her size and how she's putting on weight is a bother to her. You need to pay attention to that, okay? Now, if it is a gentleman and it is how he's becoming too fixated about his friends, boys, chill out. You don't create a hostile environment in addressing that issue. You need to find some creative way of engaging him to displace some of those attentions onto you, the significant one, so that you are prioritized. But the common thing we see is that people become hostile and aggressive and antagonistic about how they go about it. So the other party then reacts, and then boom, we are just always having this friction and constant banter, which is unnecessary if we are going to build a cordial relationship with another.
Whilst honesty is important, or it's integral, and you're making sure that you give your all to a partner or in a certain relationship, there could be other character virtues that you need. Which should be those?
Well, I mean, consideration, for instance, is very important, a virtue. Empathy is also very important. Empathy will want you to put yourself in the shoes of the other party, and you constantly will ask yourself, if I were in his or her situation, how would I wish to be treated? Consideration defers your personal rights and liberties and say, oh, I put you above me for this moment, on this occasion. Now, the other thing is also being frank. You see, sometimes a person is honest, but a bit not frank. They are honest in the sense that they open their heart to you. But when they are giving you feedback, they flatter you. And my personal principle is this: flattery is hatred in disguise. Because flattery does not build people. You've got to be frank with people, but you need to be also gracious in being frank.
Meaning what? It has to be gradual.
You've got to do it in such a way that your frankness does not destroy. Because if you become overly frank and brutally frank towards an individual, to the extent that you are not careful or mindful of the words that you choose in conveying your frankness, you destroy the other party. And love can either build or bite you. So you should at any time ask yourself, would this frankness I'm exhibiting build the other party, or it will bite them so they react? The other thing also is granting liberty and leave to whoever is in your life. Sometimes we create the impression that because we are in a relationship, somewhat you don't have privacy. You don't have space for yourself. You cannot have me time. And so it just becomes us time, us time, us time, us time, us time. But there should be me time too. And you should not be threatened where whoever in your life is having a me time. Unfortunately, this is the way people have their me time that tends to threaten or undermine the health of the relationship.
Meaning what?
For instance, you want to have a me time and there is an issue to talk about. When there's an issue to talk about, you don't have a me time. There's something to discuss. Let's get rid of that. Take it off the way so we have smooth sailing. But where there is no issue, you can look for your me time. Unfortunately, there are individuals where there's an issue to discuss. He or she has just discovered that there's some flirt going on social media with somebody else, and then they raise a red flag, and you go mute. You see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. When you try to create that environment, the other party will be hurt, and they will feel that you are not being honest and open to discussing the issues that are lingering in their mind and eating their heart away. So there will be the need to discuss it. Otherwise, then that pushes them to go and look for third parties to come in. And sometimes it is a case that you don't want the third party. So if you don't want a third party, let's do the dual conversation.
Man or woman, male or female, the person that we think should be the ideal person, who should do or be more relational, would have been built character-wise, etc., by certain factors. Could be the environment, etc. Which are those that tend to shape the person, and what are the factors?
You know, our formative years are very important. The things that we learn as we grow, especially pre-adolescent values and vices that get into our lives, they tend to create a very strong, consolidated foundation on which you build your life. The other thing is when you get into adolescence, the company you keep, the choices you make, the conversations you have, they also have a way of shaping and forming your own personal values and your experiences therewith. Now, these at that level, pre-adolescence, adolescence, and then post-adolescence, before your adulthood, they also shape you. So when you become an adult and I see you, you are a work that has history. And some of the history may be from your home, how father and mother related with each other, in your neighborhood, how husbands and wives had related with each other. And then the screen, the silver screen, is very powerful. It conveys a certain image. So the things we behold, sometimes we become them. Sometimes it's not deliberate, but some way, somehow, you are influenced involuntarily to do the things you have seen. You role play those things, you mimic them, because they constantly are in your face and in your mind. And you want to become those things. That's how come media is a powerful platform, because as you watch it, you see somebody catwalk in a particular apparel, and immediately you want to get one. You may not have even the financial resources to do so, but you have to find a way to get it. You see a certain behavioral pattern become the norm. And so you notice that what has become the norm, if indeed was the abnormal, the normal becomes boring and the abnormal looks attractive. And it's a form of socialization and reorientation.
But who determines what is the abnormal?
Oh, well, I mean, you live in a society that has structured value systems. So within your home, you have what is normal, what is abnormal, what's acceptable, what is unacceptable. So
and what you're talking about are not the extremities, right?
No. I'm not talking
Just
about extreme situations. Just the regular, everyday things that we all know, we accept.
But
for
you
instance,
do understand that to love somebody, and just like you say, would also be because of the influences that you have. And so if you come from perhaps maybe a well brought up background, maybe conservatively richer or
why do you say conservatively?
Well, richer background, etc.
Okay.
That has a positive influence, don't it?
Well, I mean, Some start life good, others start it in a very gory manner. Whatever it is, the end will be the most important thing. Some don't start off well, they are slow starters. Others are giving accelerated pedals, and so they move faster. Each of the scenarios has implications. Okay, if I've had to go through the rudiments of life the hard way, it has a way of shaping me, shaping my values, shaping my response, shaping my interpretation of life. So your experiences plus your exposure are key. Now, this is a person who grew up in a setting where they were always chauffeured to school and back. They were chauffeured to other places that they have to go to. The other party they go to marry never had such an experience, and they come to live together. What do you expect of them? They must be in a constant mode of adjustment. Otherwise, the two. Because see,
what could happen? What could go?
I mean, there could be constant references to, when I was with my parents, this, when I was with my parents, that. And then when you have children, it's even worse because it tells on your parenting style. You want your children to go through the things you went through, or you want to avoid they going through what you went through. And then the other one goes like, I had all these things. So, if they have it, what's the big deal? Then you're going, no, I didn't have that one. Then that becomes a feud between you and your whoever is in your life. Whereas you could have found some creative way of discussing the issue and finding a point of convergence so that the decision that is made is owned by both of you.
Okay, so you're saying that, let's say, if you grow up without certain basic things being provided, either because maybe is as a result of neglect, or perhaps the absence of the finance to be able to purchase them, etc. In your growing up, those relational issues, you could relive them.
Yes. Look at a family which is very closely knitted together. When they marry, it's almost like they're all in each other's space all the time.
Say again.
A family that is closely knitted together. When you marry a lady or a gentleman from such a family, you can be certain that fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters will constantly be in each other's space because of their knitted nature.
Those from the outside will always be.
They will always
be around
because they're always talking to each other. They can't almost detach from each other.
And that could pose problems?
It can pose a problem for somebody who doesn't have that kind of experience. And then your family becomes a threat to his personal dignity, because he will feel, or she will feel a long time that she or he is a stranger in your family. So it requires a spouse who takes note of this and ensure that they give whoever is the other party constant assurance and endeavor to always involve and engage them whenever family is around.
What about the other one who didn't have? Should also get closer.
Well, you see, you who had it, yours is becoming prominent. Theirs is a silent driver.
Well, they should join the bag.
You need to facilitate that.
Okay.
They don't have that experience. They are not exposed to that.
Okay.
They are not familiar with that kind of terrain. There's a need for you to, be an enabler, literally. Enable them to be part of the process, because this is a learning curve for them.
Okay.
It's unfamiliar territory.
Now, let's talk about competition.
Competition.
As in, if you come from a family in which, let's say the other spouse comes from a family in which perhaps maybe the dad, the mom, very well to do, and you come from an okay family, but you also doing well, do you feel, and they have that closeness, do you feel that you have to measure up maybe to your in-law or something, and so sometimes you go overboard in striving to achieve?
Well,
and how does that have an impact on the family?
Clearly, that will only happen when an individual wants to become Joe in prayer or Jackie in prayer. You don't need to live above yourself to impress another. Because you see, when you take a posture which is not you, which is artificial, you struggle to keep that. Sometimes you may even forget the patterns of behavior that you had to put up previously. But when you are in your natural mode, you don't have, I don't have. I have to this measurable standard. I keep that. It doesn't have to be flamboyant or constantly flowery. No, it shouldn't be. Just you, measured. Don't think of yourself more highly than you think. And don't think of yourself so low about yourself. You know, sometimes that's the danger that we all confront.
In living that way, how does that action or inaction tend to either hurt the relationship or hurt your partner?
I mean, for instance, the person who feels they don't measure up constantly will be nagging, constantly will be saddened, constantly will be threatened. So when your folks come, they are finding space to hide. They are not going to be themselves. They bottle up, they cage themselves. They almost become like a cocoon character. So there's a need for you as a spouse or as a friend to take note of that and assure them so that they come out of their shells to be the regular everyday person that you can engage with. They don't have to go overboard. Otherwise, then they would have a tumbling over.
And usually that leads to hurt in many instances.
Definitely.
For me, when, let's say, I go, or maybe a friend comes to tell me, I've been hurt by my partner, I'm assuming that, oh, maybe the partner cheated, or maybe went to sleep with somebody else, or has an intention of divorce, or perhaps leaving the relationship, or they have done something terrible. Could all these things, these salient things, be pointers of hurting a partner?
Yes, definitely. Oftentimes it's easy to think that infidelity is the only cause
Topmost.
You'll be amazed how verbal abuse, dismissive posture, character assassination, unwarranted suspicion, and
with us, character assassination we're talking about.
I mean, people who are undermining each other's character by exposing the other party to third parties to monitor or stalk them. Can you imagine you have a lady in your life you're planning to marry, and then the lady comes to your office space to tell somebody, be monitoring so and so for me. Without saying much, you have already exposed the person's character to potential trouble.
As in, you don't trust the person?
You don't trust the person. So the third party, touch wood, if they also have another fourth party, and they tell them, oh, this lady friend of mine, I can't tell her name, but she wants me to be keeping an eye on this guy and his activities with women because they are planning to marry. What have you done? You've created a fertile ground for mistrust. Okay? And so we need to be careful not to character assassinate each other. Also, a posture where you are demeaned, looked down upon. The person behaves as though they're doing you a favor. When anybody says they love you and they create the impression they're doing you a favor by loving you, that love won't build you, it will hurt you. There are individuals who are living in unions and relationships where the other party thinks that they're doing you a favor for bringing you into their space. And that drives a nail through your heart because nobody wants to feel that way. Everybody wants to be treated significantly, uniquely, and then you design appropriate responses for them that fits them and them only. Constant comparisons, for instance, can eat you up.
I see.
Oh, don't you realize this guy who was your schoolmate is now having a range? So what is he trying to tell you? Inference is that by this time you should also have a range.
That you're a failure. If
you are failing. And who wants to be described as a failure? You know, so sometimes those unfair comparisons. Of course, to compare someone to inspire is positive. But to compare to always run down is dangerous. You can be driven into a state of inactivity and constantly in a sudden state because you see yourself as not matching up. And many of those people at a point, they feel that, well, it's not worth even pursuing this life after all. So we need to ask ourselves whether we are hurting as a result of love or we are healthy as a result of love. Because love can make you healthy or can hurt you. Just as it can build you or bite you. When it bites you, It hurts. When it builds you, you feel healthy. So let's look at it all the time. Constant review. Woman, man, know thyself. Review your journey, because you are on a journey towards a certain destination. How far have you traveled? How much more do you have to travel? And that is something we all need to do at all times. Otherwise, we get into a mode where everything is sentimental. Feelings need deep. You're driving me crazy. I'm insane as a result of your love. You know, when we start doing all these things, before we realize we are no longer doing an inventory of our journey. And we need to take an inventory, take stock of how far you are going. Otherwise, it's not worth pursuing. I mean, it is said that the unexamined life is not worth living. So it is that an unexamined relationship is not worth pursuing. An unexamined marriage is also not worth enjoying, because you have to endure all the time. You know, and especially we live in a time and a space where relational tensions are rife everywhere you go. So there's a need to do a constant appraisal of the journey that we are embarking upon. If it's not worth pursuing, don't pursue it further than you have. Otherwise, it's going to hurt you, it's going to bite you. And you'll be the sufferer and the one who will be disadvantaged.
What are some of the things that, beyond what we've discussed, that tend to hurt people, and how should they react to it?
For instance, a woman who has no regard for a man.
As in?
Has no respect for a man.
Because
of her past experiences, and therefore she treats you as though you are non-essential, an appendage of theirs, a carry-on, or an excess baggage of some sort that needs to be offloaded if they are going to have a smooth journey. What about the man
also not
I'm coming. I always make sure I keep the balance. Speak to men and speak to women.
NDC,
Otherwise,
NDC and PP.
No, I don't do NDC and PP. Let them do their own things. A man who mistreats women and see them as secondary or subservient to the man, it hurts, because the woman is not secondary. The woman is not less important. I'm having situations where a man is going out of the house, doesn't tell the wife where he's going, but insists that everywhere the wife is going, he needs to know, because he has a wrong interpretation of the concept of being head. Headship connotes responsibility. It does not connote control. And so there's also that bit where men are trying to cage the women. We're having situations where men feel very endangered by the success of their own women in their lives, and will do any and everything to constrain them and to cage them from expressing their fullest potential. So many of these women are becoming very violent, very aggressive, abrasive, and taking a posture of recalcitrant nature, and can't deal with men because they can't tolerate you. And it's because of the things they may have seen, the things they may have read, the things they may have experienced. And we, as the sons of Adam, have a godly duty to be complementary to our women rather than competing with them. We are not in competition with women. That's why I don't subscribe to the idea that one man can do, women can do, and even better. Because no, what men can do, men only can do and do it well. What women can do, only women can do and do it well. It has nothing to do with career. It has nothing to do with performance. It has nothing to do with excellence. It has nothing to do with opportunities. So we need to minimize this competitive rivalry that has been heightened in the space of discourse, and is creating huge conflict points for men and women. And so if a lady is in superior position in an office, she leverages all the women and then makes sure she disadvantages the men. When a man is in superior position, he leverages all the men and disadvantages the women. No, let both grow together. Because you see, it's better to function on both sides of your brain than on one side of your brain. So the contributions of women need to be celebrated, need to be highlighted. So must the contributions of men be highlighted and celebrated. Don't do one at the expense of the other. Otherwise, you introduce a reverse cycle of discrimination, which you yourself aiming to correct.
To what extent is it that people's character or behavior patterns that are shielded or concealed on the blind side of their partners tend to create hurtful situations for those partners?
I mean, it's like this guy who had this lady who he had been dating since uni days. Apparently, the lady had some condition, so she was bald-headed and has a wig on. So in the uni, nobody knew she was bald-headed. This guy meets her and thinks that this long hair is natural. Gets married to this lady. They go for their honeymoon. The lady goes into the washroom to change up and get ready, so they bathe together. The guy falls asleep midway. The lady walks into the bedroom and shouts his name. Hey, Kay. He wakes up in his state of...
like a movie.
It's not a movie. I mean, he wakes up and the lady had taken off the wig. Roland, how would you respond? The guy goes, who is this? He says, it's me.
How long had they been dating?
From uni days. Uni days through national service.
And then the lady never told the gentleman?
No, they didn't discuss that. The guy was shocked to his bone and asked the lady, what else are you hiding from me? You see, character is such that you cannot always hide it.
Did she hide it?
Well, she hid it because she wasn't sure if she would still be accepted. We call it the minimization of scarecrows. People have things that scare others and can scare them away. So what do? We minimize those, we shield those, and don't reveal them. But when we settle in a union, we think we have to go ballistic. Full force, show your elements, be you. And then you, in your attempt to be you, get a scare from the other party. And that will be their response. So this guy curtailed their honeymoon and said he can't continue because he needs to sit with the lady and ask her, what else are you hiding from me?
Okay.
So character may be hidden for a period, but with time, it will reveal itself. And it will expose you big time. Because it's like a cock. You submerge it in water. Character is a huge thing. If you have a lady or a gentleman who has character deficiencies that are becoming clear or is being pointed out to you, don't take it lightly.
What if you don't know?
If you don't know, it will certainly come up. Look, as for character, you have to find ways of testing people's character. Okay. For instance, see, a lot of people meet and they immediately start a relationship. So everything is going to be artificial, choreographed, properly designed and structured. I do so to ensure that you don't see everything. Of course, you can never date somebody and know everything about them. Relational 101. People show you what they want you to see. The rest you must discover. And it is the discoveries that shock us. Yesterday I was telling a congregation where I was speaking that sometimes if you marry, at certain times in the union, especially in the early years, you look at the person and wondering, is it the same person I made a choice to marry? What did I see in this fellow that I married them? Hey, am I in this for real? Those questions legitimately will bounce back to you. But you need to take a decision and tell yourself, this is not a sentimental decision. This is a decision I reviewed and I knew the pros and cons and I trusted myself into it. So I own the choice I have made. It's a tough call.
In Hollywood. Currently. Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein are having all these difficulties with their sexuality and their character, etc.
Yeah.
Things that even, I'm sure even their partners didn't know. Back home, we have people. Sometimes you have bosses or colleagues who are of a certain nature and character, and you meet their spouses, or even though they're in relationship with, and sometimes the sentiments about them is so beautiful, you kind of say, okay, maybe perhaps I didn't identify the right kind of behavior patterns from the person, etc. It means they are concealing something.
Yes, I mean,
What that could lead to hurt.
it can hurt you.
Ultimately.
It can hurt you. You see, for instance, you have this pleasant-looking character in your life, and they are so unpleasant in their choice of words on social media. There's a certain inconsistency in how they communicate. They use words that are demeaning, derogatory, sarcastic of others. And yet they are so nice and pleasant towards you. So what you need to understand is this, that in the virtual plane, that's how they are living. In the visible plane, this is how they're also living. We having this dual personality where people are different in church, different in the religious setting.
Bipolar.
Not bipolar. Bipolar is a different psychiatric condition. I won't describe that one as bipolar. These are individuals who, to all intents and purposes, deliberately decide that they will have a dual personality. And so there's what I show you because you are close to me. And there's what I show those who don't know me. Okay, so when you sit with the boys, they know you for a certain stock in trade. But when you sit with whoever is significant to you, they also know you differently. And usually, I don't know if you've been to a place and you say, oh, this guy is very quiet. And then people go, you don't know him. Are you sure? You don't know him.
I think we all, it's been said to, and we have said it to other people.
You see?
Oh, they won't even know. Yeah. That's why many spouses will never be taken to old school meetings and boyhood club meetings.
Because when you go there, you see them in their full elements. They descend in all their
but
you experience, you'll be told.
You get told things that
they are capable of.
Yeah, you keep wondering. I mean, because we'll never display it that day.
So what we need are not fractioned individuals, but people who are integers. So we integrate our lives. So my life in privacy and my life publicly, they ought to be consistent. Who I am in the morning and who I am in the evening, there should be some consistency in that area. Because if you are not consistent...
So if on social media, for example, you have someone who is constantly abusing and insulting and...
Well,
very...
coming events, we are told they cast their shadows.
Right. Well,
to be forewarned is to be forearmed.
All right. So please communicate with us. Let us know your experiences. What have you experienced or are experiencing in your relationship that you feel have led to hurt? And the signs that you're seeing currently, based on what we've discussed, that you think really are giving us the indications that you're heading somewhere. 03022 11691 or 2. Again, 03022116991 or 2. Please let us know what you think. The numbers will be on your screen very soon. I'm sure they are. So please let us know. Two numbers: 03022116991 or 2. Okay, so please let us know what you think, and then let us better also be real with some of the things that we say. Let us know as much as possible. Okay, so
Ro, can you imagine a situation where you are being honest and transparent with whoever you consider significant, and yet they are not being transparent, they are not being honest, they are not being an open book to you, only for you to discover that the motives for which they are in a relationship with you are other than what they have disclosed to you? It can really hurt. And so let us not promise what we don't intend to deliver. If you give somebody constant assurance and they open their hearts to you, please endeavor to be a good steward of the heart which has been opened to you. And don't violate trust. Because the moment trust is violated, rebuilding, recovering is a very tortuous journey. And not many survive that endeavor. Very few survive. So you may not be opportune to be one of the few who survive. Let's not casualize ourselves deliberately. There are people who have hurt you and don't even admit they have hurt you because they justify their action. Let's not justify hurts when it's brought to our attention. It's a feedback.
So from Gushegu, we have Mohammed Idrisu. Good morning to you, Mohammed.
Good morning.
You have some contribution to our our lesson this morning, what will it be?
Oh, sorry, Mohammed. That's my call, sorry.
But at the end of the day, we know that in order to reconcile what people's character is or characters are, we will be in a situation where we're faced with the reality. How do we reconcile that and say, well, this is what I knew, but this is what I know
I have discovered.
I want to make a decision. How do you make that decision?
Now,
how do you embrace the situation?
Well, you have to weigh on the balance scorecard and look at yourself. Am I able to let go the hurt or the pain? Would I be able to survive this? Would I be able to endure the further realities?
Well, we have Isaac Odro. Bibieni, that's where you're calling us from. Isaac.
Hello, Ronald.
Yes, please. Please share your experiences with us.
Oh, well, I have a lot of experience, but I just want to ask Mr. Anand if you can get his number or in the office.
Oh, you want his number, eh? Well, that's the problem they face all the time. So I'm sure that we can help you with something. Okay. And that's Isaac from BPNE.
Well,
and we're having about if you're faced with a situation, how do you...
So you have to do those reviews, assess to be sure you can handle it. Because if you know that you're going to constantly have this in your face and in your mind, and will make it difficult for you to move on with this fellow, then clearly you don't have to let go. But if you know that you can let go, then it means free yourself by freeing the person. Don't hold it against them all the time, especially where they've been remorseful, where they have shown that they have repented, if you like, and are turning on a new leaf. Give them the opportunity to be the new one that they have promised. And don't make it a habit of constantly falling back into the old mold, because it's easy. If you've pulled a tooth before, you notice that every time your tongue is rolling, it's going to the cavity. So constantly you're going to be reminded of the past, but you have to take a deliberate posture that says, I won't allow the past to teleguide me. That's why you're having people who have been disappointed by ladies or by gentlemen, and they say, I can't trust a man, I can't trust a woman. But what they fail to realize is this, that people are unique. So you can't paint all women or men with the same broad brush.
Well, we have Musa Andarachi from Tamale. Musa, good morning to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, so your name is, what's your name, please?
Musa Andarachi from Tamale.
Andarachi, yeah.
Okay. So your
Can I speak to the life coach?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes, I'm out with the life coach.
Yes, Andarachi, please go ahead. I'm listening.
Yes, I have a problem. I'm very happy with what you are discussing today.
Please proceed.
Yes, I have a problem with my spouse. My problem is he is not appreciative.
He's not appreciative?
Yes.
Okay. What doesn't he appreciate?
Anything that I do.
Anything that you do?
Yes.
All right, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for calling in, Andarachi. I mean, there are some individuals who want to see huge phenomenon activities before they extend appreciation. So they may not notice the little things.
And that cause hurt?
That can cause hurt.
Those things could
Yeah,
cause
because see, in relationship, it's the small things that are the big things. So we need to pay attention to the things and nib it in the bud when they are small. You can see. Somebody will say something as small as appreciation is driving this lady into pain. And so take note of what has been done and give appreciation. Compliment them. And where you fail to compliment, clearly, the other party would suffer pain, would suffer the hurt. And so there's a need for us to avoid the situation where it is that we deny people of these. Clearly, she's one who is affirmative.
Judith Latte. Judith, good morning to you. You're calling from Kolegono.
Good morning.
Good morning, Judith. What are your experiences you want to share
I
with us?
wanted to talk to the life coach, man.
Yeah, please. The life coach is around, so you can always please go ahead and talk.
I wanted to ask him, I'm going through a lot in my marriage. I'm married to my husband.
Okay, so how long have you been married?
2 years. Next year will be 3 years. I have a baby girl who is 1 year old.
And if you say you're going through, those things are leading to hurt, definitely, right?
My husband is truthful outside, but inside the house, he's not a truthful man. He talks to me anyhow. He doesn't give respect, but he always wants me to respect me.
If you say he doesn't give respect, you mean he insults you or what?
No, he sometimes insults, like, I don't even, sometimes, like, I don't understand.
So you're saying the way he talks and relates to you?
Yes.
It's not the
He
same.
can go out. He doesn't think, we don't even chat. Come to the house, he's a policeman, he come and leave. Sometimes he will be in the house, what's happening, calling, but for me to maybe chat or maybe some issues we can solve, then he will be telling someone to talk to me, I should hold him well or help, someone have some assist a lot. So I need the man's number so that he can advise me, because it's not easy.
All right.
I've cried so you can even hear from the voice.
Wow. All right. You're saying your husband is a policeman?
Yes.
All right. I'm sure our producers will try and speak to you before you go off.
Well, it's unfortunate if you marry someone and inflict psychological pain.
That's psychological pain.
Yes, it's psychological pain and verbal abuses from what she's saying. Nobody deserves abuse. And nobody should settle for abusive conditions. Now, this man, I hope he's not marrying his wife as a policeman. You should marry your wife as a husband. There's a big difference between what you do and who you are as a husband. And she needs to feel the companionship of the husband. But it's like she's in a controlling setting. And that is not marriage.
Okay.
It's something else.
In trying to deal with such difficulties, you don't deal with only one partner.
No.
You deal with both.
Yes,
the
I'm just
really
speaking to what she has said. If you have the opportunity to sit with the man, he will also say some other things, which then gives you a fairer position to be able to speak to both. But I'm trying to just speak to the germane issue where an individual marries somebody and treats them as though they are insignificant.
Usually it's the men inflicting the pain.
Well, for the last 2 weeks, we've been looking at men who are struggling, and men also struggle with their own issues, okay? And when a man is frustrated, you will see him blow up all the time. And the issue is not you, it's got to do with his frustration. When a man is driven with fear, for instance, they become paranoid.
Fear of what?
Fear of any kind of thing. I mean, it could be fear of losing his job, his health, fear of not surviving, fear of not making it.
Okay.
And there's a need for the women in such men's life to help them.
So we have Gifty Abdul from Tema. Gifty, good morning. Gifty?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah,
Good
Gifty,
morning.
please go ahead.
First, I'm very happy this morning. The discussions that you have, it's very difficult when you have a spouse who doesn't appreciate, and in fact, you are trying, not that you don't know, you are like what he's saying, you're trying to understand him. He's not appreciative. He doesn't recognize anything that you do, and abusive.
Right.
I mean, all that he's saying, that person has this, all that. And you being the woman trying to go along with all that he's saying. In fact, like to understand him. Because being a Christian, I mean, you want to understand him. So you go all around, but it's not working. So what do you do? Me, for instance, I've taken the approach of not minding again. I've coiled back. Are you
in a relationship or you're married or what?
I'm married.
Married.
For how long?
Almost 10 years.
Right.
Gifty, has he always been like this?
Has he?
Always been like this? Or he's changed?
From the time, from the onset, for the first 3 years, he was different. I think he changed because he used to say that if he had not changed, I wouldn't have accepted him. In fact, yes.
Okay.
But since I'm in it already, I'm trying to go around it so that we get to understand each other. But you will start going different way, and then later we come out again to the odd line again. And in fact, it's very painful. I sometimes cry, and go back and then read my Bible, and then try to just to understand the human nature, because it varies, everybody in the nature. So I'm trying to go all round to understand him from all the angles, but yet, in fact. So now, personally, I have coiled back. When I'm with my friends, just as you said, the double character thing. My friends see me to be a happy person in my marriage. I drive, my kids are happy, I'm happy. I can happy myself. But it's not everybody will be like me, can be like me. So you see me, I'll be there, we are together, we don't chat. When he wants to talk, it's when we talk, we laugh together. And sometimes it hurts, yeah.
All right. Let's take this one after Gifties.
Okay.
Mark Kwesi, you're calling Kwesi Mark. You're calling us from Asimfosu.
Yes. Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mark.
I'm really enjoying your program so much. It looks like you are hitting the nail straight on the head. And I'm very happy. Very, very happy. In fact, I have my spouse. We've been together for 3 years now.
You've been together for?
Hello. Yes, for 12 years.
12 years?
Yes, please. Yeah. And not knowing she was going behind me, who was having boys, the other people behind me going out. She had already had a child before I met her. And anytime she says she's traveling, no, she goes to the former boy. She goes to the former boy to have what he wants to do with the boy and come back. And of late, I got to realize that this is what she's been doing. I asked her, and in fact, she broke it, and that if that is the case, she's going to stop with the marriage. We are going to teach everything all together. In fact, she's going around telling a whole lot of people that for her, she's no longer interested in the marriage, without even telling me what I have actually done. In fact, when I heard watching your TV and I heard this, I was very, 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 very interested in it. And then I glued my TV and listened to all that the counselor is telling us. In fact, I would be very much happy if I could get his number and then we talk after that.
Okay.
So I had a whole lot of things that are going wrong, and I can't even say so.
All right. Our producers will finish you with the number, I'm sure of that. But let's take the last caller. So we have first from Gifty, also relating to the issues, and then we had that was from Gifty. Then we had from Kwesi Mark from Asimfosu, who said had been married for 12 years. But we have Edith. Edith, good morning. You're calling from where? Edith.
Hello, I'm calling from Hohwe.
Hohwe?
Yes.
Can you please speak up?
Hohwe.
Okay, please, how do you relate with the subject of discussion this morning, please?
I also have a brother, so I need an advice.
Okay. I'm sure our producers can help you.
All right. Okay. Let me first and foremost caution our viewers. I don't have set of answers for problems.
Yeah.
My work is to listen to people and try to understand what they're going through, look at what decisions they have taken in the past, see why they have not succeeded, and then we carve a new journey together, which they will have to own. It's not my own giving prescriptions to people what they should go and do. That's just a caveat. Secondly, when I put out my number, I don't do counseling on the phone. I give it out for appointments. Many get scared that you're going to charge them money. I don't charge for doing counseling. I have a job I keep, so I don't do this for money. That's the second issue. Now, going to Gifty's issue. Now, if you have an unappreciative spouse, it's painful. And I'm happy that she's taking a decision not to abandon the ship. I was telling some people yesterday, when a vessel is being set on the ocean When they are building, the building process of a vessel bears in mind storms. You have to have the storm in mind. And now you are faced with a storm. How do we find a way to still keep our vessel afloat whilst the storm is raging? She lives in Tema. I can arrange to have some time. It's easier for those in Tema. And for Kwesi, 12 years, and he's discovering that the wife goes to the X factor. I've always cautioned people, if the X is dead and buried, let them stay buried. Do not give them resurrection power. Do not encourage them coming back to you. If you're worthy enough, they will not consider you an X. When you are seriously moving on, they come and become a distraction. You need to commit yourself and be personally responsible for your emotions. Many of us delegate our emotions to others, and then we end up saying they have come into our space. You allowed them into your space. Now, for Edith, I can still further encourage you not to relent on your efforts at making your relationship work. I'm going to offices to have conversations with people, and I notice that people on the same team who are not really on good terms, but because of corporate goals set, they adjust to want to make it work. Why can't we do the same adjustment and make our relationships work and make our marriages work? Okay. Marriage is never meant to be blissful.
All right, or relationships.
Through.
So it's not only marriage.
No,
okay.
Yes, I'm addressing that one first. Marriage is not meant to be blissful all the time. There are ups and there are downs. There are highs and lows. There are turbulent times, but there are also serene, peaceful times. Let's not only smile when things are going well and cry and want a way out when things are becoming difficult. When the going gets tough, those with grace get going.
All right. And I have this from a very good friend.
All right, okay.
It says, Roland asking, how do you let go of the past? Because she's been through some terrible relationships. Very beautiful, nice lady. Has given her all, or had given her all in the past relationships, but had always been disappointed. And she wants to welcome new relationships, but the fear factor of the past is haunting the present.
That's fair. It's regular. It's normal to have this experience, but you can still grow past it. How do you do that? First and foremost, you need to review each of the relationship setbacks you have encountered. How you entered, the experiences you picked, how they ended. Okay, how you start off the new one, how they also went, and how they ended. Each relationship will have something different from the other. And finally, remember that people are unique, people are distinct. Everybody bears a name. And names show that Roland is different from Amos. So your experiences with Roland should not be rolled over into Amos's life. Nobody wants to be treated as that other lady. Everybody wants to be treated as you, the lady. Okay, so distinct, unique engagement of individuals are very important. Past, if you choose not to get over it, would always teleguide everything you do, good or bad. But it's always good to err on the side of caution. Sometimes we give too much too early when it is that we are uncertain of what we are doing, only to discover that you've given what belongs to a treasure to being treated as a trash. But don't allow yourself to be trashed. Carry yourself as a treasure.
Thank you very much. And
welcome any day, Roland.
Right, it's been a great conversation. Many of you have called and expressed similar sentiments in relating with the subject of discussion. We're grateful to Gifty, to Edith, to Mark, to all the others that have called, Andarachi from Tamale, and a couple of them also. And Amos Kavianan is a counselor, a regular counselor. And I know you guys have an association, or what do you call it?
Well, I mean, there's the Ghana Psychological Association.
You belong to any of them?
Yes, I belong to the Ghana Pastoral and Counseling Group. Yes.
Right. Amos Kevin Annan can always be reached, so don't worry at all. If people want to reach you, you want to share a number?
Yeah, so I have cautioned already. If you take that number, please take note. You can call me before 8 a.m. You can call me after 8 p.m. It's 0244 273368. I'm going to Adom, so you can call me now.
Yes.
It should be after 11 a.m.